Train your team, train your team, train your team, OMG, train your team. So many leave this to videos. They leave it to the senior person in that position. They leave it to some consultant that comes in. This is your team. This is your dream practice. Yes, there are skills that they've learned in school, and yes, there's the required like videos they've got to learn for different things, right? And train them on the whole thing, right? Like the whole, like, where is their role a part of the bigger thing? What are you looking for that they're doing? What is their role having to do with how you help the patient? Train them on what you're looking for, what you do with the information that they give you, like they clinically know what this means, right? And or they theoretically know what this means. I was on the job taught, and then I got the clinical, like theoretical certifications later. So I knew clinically what a thing was, but it wasn't until I started learning the theoretical stuff. Why? And then I didn't know what the provider did with it. I was a ophthalmic technician first, and then I was a scribe, and then I was a surgery coordinator, and then I did all of the pre-op biometry, and then I did the premium lens consulting, premium service consulting, and then I did anyway. And I still didn't know until I got further down the road, what the provider did with my information. Why? I got it that I did that, but why? I'm a big why person, right? And your process improvement and your process development, why is required. Unifying your team, empowering your staff, your colleagues, having these conversations about the why, where, what's the vision, where we're going, what's important, what expression is allowed and not allowed, and why does that fit the vision? And as you unify your team, as you let them know where you're going, then you lessen one going this way and one going that way, and then you divide all that momentum. And then you get the infighting, right? So if you have a strong leader that you naturally are, you are the one with the vision. You are the one leading by example. You are the one with the awareness, right? This is the third arc. We talked about those. You have your relationship set. You've done your pre-leadership work. You have your foundation for relationships. You're building empowered and authentic relationships. You have the systems and structures set up to support you, and you are authentically you, all of you. And you clearly have defined your dream practice, and you confidently know that you can bring it into being, and you are deeply comfortable knowing that it can happen and with what it looks like, even if you've never seen it done before. You know this is the way for you. You know this is what you're developing, whether or not this is in a corporate system, or whether or not you're developing your own private practice, or whether or not you've partnered with a corporate franchise company, or whether or not whatever your thing, okay? Train your team. This is a huge miss. I see so many providers being so hands off. Have discussions where your schedulers and your billers and your scribes and you go through this process improvement and development and make sure everybody's on the same page. Let the schedulers know why what they schedule matters. Because then when your technical staff, your MAs, your nurses, your technicians get the patient, right? Why what they put down matters. If they ask these questions or those questions or these questions, then you can bill higher if appropriate, right? If they do this, if they hear this, then that's going to lead to that, which is going to help you think of this or not. right? Which is going to help you bill out that, hey, if you say that in your thing, then I can use this modifier. And then that was an extra $250,000 for a practice that I worked with because they were missing a modifier on work that the provider was already doing, but they didn't have this training for their coders, for their staff, for their provider. It wasn't a team approach. This, yes, was a corporate system, but it was a small clinic setting within the corporate system. And they weren't trained to recognize, hey, there's a modifier. Hey, the provider's doing this work. Why are we not using that? They went back, rebuild, right? Now they had the resources to go back and rebuild. It ended up being an extra $250,000 for a practice in a rural corporate setting that they found because they were missing some training. Hello, training matters. It matters for the vibe of your practice, it matters for the feel of your practice, and it matters for your systems and structures that you're setting up to support you. It matters for the unity, for the momentum. It matters for getting your team together and going the same way. It matters for it being light and fun. If they know your expectations, they know where you're headed, they know what your vision is, they know, right, you're all on the same page. One of my favorite things with one of my first jobs was that the doctor would bring us like some crazy case examples. And this wasn't something that they were doing in a clinical setting. And they would provide a lunch once a month, every 6 weeks, I don't remember. And we could stay or not, it wasn't mandatory. We closed clinic like a half hour early. And the provider would spend, 10, 20 minutes going over a case. That was crazy. That was cool. And helped us realize that, hey, maybe this just wasn't an artifact, but it's really important to know when there's an artifact in a test versus like actually a differing result than you tend to see. And this is where this distinction matters. And so when I harp on you or when I express that this is a really important thing, this is why. Right? Train your team. They want to learn. And if they don't, you don't want them. Yeah. I see too many providers missing here. Don't let it be you. You've worked really hard to learn a lot of things. This is some imposter syndrome stuff. This is you not realizing how cool you are. This is the root of imposter syndrome is a confidence issue. Obviously we know that, right? But imposter syndrome is often not that you're not good enough. It's not that you are, okay, I'm skirting around a thing, which is why I can't think of what to say. It's that they're not very great. And you can't imagine that you can be in this place yet because you didn't work as hard as you thought it was going to be to get there. But you got there. So many don't get there. So many don't graduate med school. So many don't get a spot. So many burn out. So many don't have the vision that you have. So many don't have the training that you have. And some of it's crazy stuff. Some of it's, something that happened when you were 5. I'm finding more and more and more these seemingly nothing things that happened in my life that are so important now, that are such incredible examples. And if you aren't speaking with your staff, if you don't have the awareness for what to train on, if you aren't leading by example, then this third arc doesn't happen. Hey, I've noticed that XYZ thing. Maybe we're not all kind of on the same page with that. I want to provide some training around that. Let's talk about this. right? Hey, this is what I want this to look like. And then we go into the next arcs, empower, encourage, and redirect, right? Hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I want to be seeing. What ideas do you guys have to help us do that? And then encourage them to do that. Yeah, we did it. Hey, high five. Awesome. Right? Celebrate that. And if there's some members that are not, then you're redirecting, right? Hey, we had this training. Hey, we talked about it. Hey, you guys made this decision. We all made this decision together. I notice, I have the awareness that this isn't happening. How can we help that happen better for you? Is there something that's stopping you? Is there a yeah, but in there? Like, yeah, we talked about this, but what are you finding that's making that difficult to happen? How can we clear that up? Like, what's the catch? Right? And having those conversations. And then you know that everybody's on the same page because the trainings happened, the empowerment's happened, the encouragement's happened, the redirection has happened. And if you know that that's not working, then it's really clear that that's not a team member for you. Because if by that point, if you've done this leadership work, right, you're leading from the front, the back, the side, like leadership is not up front, leadership is not in the back, leadership is where you need to be. But in training, you're in the front. Training, this is you saying, hey, yeah, this is how we're going to do it. You've seen me do it this way. This is important. This is what we're doing. And you're a part of that. And this is how you're a part of that. Okay? So train your staff, train your colleagues, train your team, train you.